podcast. And for those of you who've kind of stayed tuned through the social media, through the podcast, various phases over the last, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, you realize that we have been trying our best to keep business owners calm. Calm, cool, and collected, as I've said during this coronavirus outbreak. But, I got to tell you, I drew a line in the sand today, and I am tired, candidly, of dealing with the coronavirus. I'm tired of it. I've had enough of it. I walked outside middle of the day today and shot a quick video on YouTube or Facebook or somewhere out there talking about all the things that I'm hearing, positive things, people walking down the beach together, people having dinner as a family once again. And it led me to think what we business owners can do at this point to get our eyes off the immediate, to get our eyes off the stupid TV. Lord help us. I mean, we tune into the TV and it's just negative news. And I realize what's happening in our world today, but truth be told, friends, we have an unbelievable opportunity. So I've asked my colleague, Mr. Brandon Jordan, to join me today on the live stream. Brother, how are you?
Better than I deserve.
So Brandon, we are going to unpack a particular topic today that I want to spend some time over the next 3, 4, 5 weeks on until life is back to normal. And that is getting business back to normal. I think it's time for you and I as professionals to start speaking in that direction as opposed to the survival mode that so many people are dealing with right now. And we were talking in one of our regular meetings. I think it was a client. I can't remember where we were, Brandon, talking about this, but we made the conversation about a turnaround versus a startup. And I'd like for you to speak into that. What is a turnaround? And what is a startup when we're talking about business?
So when I think these things through, I have a lot of people who love the idea of becoming business owners. There's a lot to it. So when I think of a startup, I think of someone who has yet to prove proof of concept and proof of market or proof of demand. And I think there's a lot of business owners right now who have basically had the demand for their business just turned off externally, but it doesn't mean the demand is not there. So I think that for those of us, when we get back to normal, whenever that day comes, we can have the same energy that we did when we started our businesses, but we're not a startup anymore. We're just in a turnaround world. Turnaround has historically meant where there's a business who has failed. There's been proof of market, there's been proof of concept, but oftentimes poor or mismanagement or poor management that led to a failure of some sort. So I think we are closer to a turnaround mentality than we are a startup mentality.
Brandon, being we're live on the air, I didn't ask you this beforehand. I'd like to pull up my Facebook page, Justin Goodbread, and see if there's any comments which come in. We're going to do things a little bit differently on this particular episode. For those of you who are going to follow us on any of the podcast episode, feel free to go to www.financiallysimple.com/ask Justin, and your questions will channel through the team. And over the next coming weeks, we're going to try to deal with these particular topics. So, Brandon, as you were just talking on the turnaround, we were using an analogy in a business with a business owner today about an airplane. Now, it's stuck in my head because, as you know, Chris Stewart, CFP in our office is a pilot, and Jeff Jetter, soon to be CFP, who's already passed everything, who's just waiting on the marks. CEP was also a pilot. Now, Jeff flew Apache helicopters, and Chris flies little small planes, but nonetheless, they're pilots, right? We were talking to them, and we were making an analogy that the economy was cruising along at like warp speed. I mean, in January, we were just marking it. I mean, just crazy. We had like a 3.5% annualized GDP. It's like 3.3, 3.5. I can't remember the number off the bat. I did that some shows a while back, but it was cruising nonetheless. I mean, it was rock star. And the U.S. stock market was on path to a 40% return. And instantly, like overnight, all air traffic controllers came and said, ground your planes, almost like back in 9/11, ground your planes now. And these planes, businesses in my metaphor, went into a nosedive, and here they are now sitting on the runway. So in my opinion, and in your opinion, I know, we did not turn off demand. We did not turn off supply. We turned off demand.
Yes.
Let's talk through that a little bit and unpack that, if you will.
So when I think through this, so I want to actually start with framing how I think this through. These are not fun times as we think through the implications to our businesses. But Justin, I do think that This is a once in a lifetime opportunity for all of us who consider ourselves business owners, because we actually get to artificially press pause and focus on working on our business, not just in our business. So we're on the runway where there's nobody pushing us, this demand pushing us. We actually get to think through, what is our checklist? What are the things that we want to do to actually take this business where we want it to be? Where, sometimes when you start a business, there's this just demand that you were unexpecting, and you kind of got a tiger by a tail, where the day-to-day decisions we make are sort of falling victim to what I call the tyranny of the urgent, not necessarily being intentional with how we're building our processes. But that's just not the case right now, right? If we do this correctly, we being the business owner community, we can come back not just at par where we were before this demand got turned off. We can be better.
So one of the things that you and I were talking through is a question, and it's a question that I have been thinking through in my own head. Now, before I say the question, to your point, so many business owners didn't have time, but now many people are stuck with time. I was talking to a dentist today, and he said, Justin, do you realize when I get back to work sometime in early May that I have 6 weeks worth of patients that I missed that I have to put in place? Plus I had another 4 weeks already booked in place. He goes, man, we're going to be working 7 days a week, like 10 hours a day in order to catch up with the patients. So as he's looking at us, he's saying, man, we have a ton of time, but right now I'm pressure washing the driveway, man. What can I do?
So I would say to this business owner, he or she, it's not that he or she has to do this. They are blessed that they get to do this. They have built something that their clients, their consumers find value in and are willing to pay for. So this is not a challenge. This is a massive opportunity. So what I would say to this person, if they were talking to me, is like, as I think through the very first moment this person opens that door to come back into my office, my medical practice, what is their experience like? Because if they're like myself, when my first business that I started, or you when you first started your business, the processes I built were oftentimes out of necessity because I didn't have a lot of time to think it through. Well, now I do. So think through our processes. Was it the right process for the future, or was it the right process for the time we had to make the decision?
So can we reset it with this question then? And let's say it this way, if we had unlimited resources, unlimited resources, the actual money, how would we change, or what would we desire our business to look like in the future? Ideally, we all ended up in a position in January, and so many business owners may have been having the time of their life. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm loving business right now. Now we're working some long hours, but I'm loving it. It's fun to me right now, helping so many business owners, just trying to get them in the right direction. But man, Brandon, some of the business owners, they were in the opposite camp saying, I'm not very happy with my business. I'm not in control of my business. So would it be a fair question to say, where, if I could say this, if we had unlimited resources, where would we want our business to be in 5 years? Now's the time to think through that, isn't it?
I think so. So it's funny, we are paid to help our clients think through the economics of their decisions. That's where, when I think of decision making, I go to dollars and cents. But I would challenge all of us to think through, with unlimited resources, we now have the most valuable resource that was given to us: time. Okay, money's a resource we've had for a long time, and most of us probably weren't stewarding it as good as we could have. But right now, we have been given time. We have been given the ability to logically think through what we want our business to look like. And I'm not unbiased in my next statement, but I do believe there is a value proposition with having people on your team, and what we've called our success team, to help think through what are the mechanisms we should have in place where we can build a business that is beyond us.
So Brandon, you and I have been talking a lot through business owner clients. We have the opportunity to work with hundreds of business owners nationally. A lot of them are various entrepreneurial doctors, like dentists, chiropractors, things of that nature. We have most of our business owners are in the service industry of some mechanism. And you made a statement earlier that I find so many practitioners dealing with, and that is giving into the tyranny of the urgent. And that brings to my mind this concept called the Eisenhower Matrix, right? With the Eisenhower Matrix, what it does is it allows us to kind of speak through the thinking or the hot topics that we have on our plate, so to speak, that and determine which is the best method. So let's spend a little time kind of unpacking the Eisenhower matrix.
Okay.
And then let's kind of move into how does that apply for business owners today who have time on their hand to ultimately say, now I had this golden opportunity that we've been given, right? When life gives you lemons, you make some sweet, sweet summertime lemonade. Come on, preach to me for a second. That's good stuff. You make some good, sweet summertime lemonade. We have the opportunity right now as business owners to make some lemonade and actually come out of this process, this very tough time, coming out in a direction that truly we now want to do. I remember when I started, as you're thinking about this Eisenhower Matrix, Brandon, I remember when I started at Heritage Investors back in 2009, I had already been in the financial services world since 2004, four, somewhere in that range. So I had worked and I had made some unbelievable successes, received some national awards, and I had the opportunity to say, how do I want to build my company? Mm-hmm. With back history, man, every single business owner today has that ability to say, we have a little bit of time on our hand. What are we going to do? I heard a dentist today saying, you know what? I was moving into 3 different locations. I'm not sure I want to do this anymore. I think I want to work just by myself with 4 assistants. On the other hand, I heard somebody say, you know what? I've had 1 location. I see the opportunity now for 2 locations. So how would they think through that using this concept called the Eisenhower Matrix?
So what I would start with is just sort of preface like how I became aware of this. This is when I was at my time with Deloitte, where my laundry list of to-do things would be sometimes hundreds, 200, 300 things in a day. And I credit my leadership team with teaching me how to think through action items. So my partner, Allison, I'll leave her last name out, told me at one point, Brandon, if everything is important, nothing is important. And that has led me for a very long time in my career and how I process decisions that need to be made that all business owners have to make. So if I can try to craft this visually, in the Eisenhower Matrix, there's 4 corners. Okay, across the top, we have things that are urgent. On the left-hand side, we have things that are important. So things that are both urgent and important, we would often define those as like crises type of things, where we do in fact need to deal with them in the moment they're happening. Then we have things that are important, but not urgent. Okay, and that's actually where I hope we get most of our time. That's where we do our goals and our planning, our strategic thinking. If we have things that are urgent and important, those can be interruptions. We should delegate those. Okay, urgent, non-important. And things that are not important and non-urgent, don't spend a single second on it. It's a waste of time. So I think this is where we should spend our time thinking through of all the things that, as we think about, like call it the relaunch of our business, right? Not start over, relaunch. Let's bucket those decisions. Think about what we're trying to do and what does our decision tree look like to get there, and bucket them into those categories.
Whenever I was growing up, as you know, Brandon, you know this about me, my mother is my hero. My father is my hero. There's nothing that I can accredit, no other single person that I can accredit the success other than God himself other than my mother and my father, because they poured their entire life into me. If I heard a statement, man, if I heard it one time, I heard it 1,000 times. My mom would say, son, where you'll be 5 years from now is determined by the books you read and the people you associate yourselves with today. And so we have now this opportunity as business owners to look where we're at today and say, where do we want to be in 5 years? Now, I'm simple, as you know. I like to read lots of stuff, and I'm a little bit of a nerd. By the way, so are you, buddy. You know that.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, we're both a little dorks here sometimes. The way I look at this opportunity is to walk through strategic planning. It's a systematic approach to figure out where we're at and where we want to be. And so if we use that Eisenhower Matrix to look at what are the things in my life that I am comfortable with. So let me open up my world a little bit. And you and I have talked about this, and feel free to share your own thoughts on where you're at. But, years ago, I was sitting across the table from a client who's no longer a client. This is back in previous business. And he was over there, we got a cartoon commercial. They're going, wah, 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 wah. You don't even know what they're saying. He's over there doing his thing. And whenever I made a statement, he didn't say it, but he pretty much said, dude, I don't give a flying flip about you. I'm here for me.
Mm.
And at that particular point, dude, I got to tell you, it ran through my gut, man. Like, how dare you? I just left my beautiful, smoking hot wife at home. And at that time, my little baby, to come here and be away from them, whom I dearly love, who's going to be with me on my deathbed, to come and listen to you kind of attack me. And at that point, life came on that says, I only want to do certain things that I'm good at. You often say highest and best use. So maybe you can speak to that in a second. But where I'm looking at in my own world is I'm really, really comfortable and I have a lot of fun talking to people, whether it's through social media, whether it's through face-to-face meetings. I've been scheduled to be speaking on a couple of national stages in front of 10,000, 15,000 people. I love talking and teaching people very complex strategies and helping them relate to things. So to me, when I'm looking at strategic planning in the sense of where we're at today and where we want to be 5 years from now, I think you've got to start, at least in my opinion, you have to start with, what is it that makes you tick? What is it that makes you comfortable? You often say highest and best use. Let's kind of talk. I think it was Dan Sullivan who actually made that statement popular. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think you're correct.
Yeah.
So it is my personal belief that each of us have been gifted something that we are uniquely gifted at doing. And if we want to attain both personal, professional, financial satisfaction, we should focus on that which we are uniquely gifted at doing. Now, there's some things that I'm good at, and I just come back a little bit. Oftentimes when you're successful, you can be good at a lot of things. Okay. You're successful because you are good at a lot of things. But at some point in our lives, we should stop asking ourselves, can I do something? And instead ask ourselves, should I be doing this? That is a distinction with a different that has paid dividends for me for the last couple of years since I finally took ownership of that concept. And I expect to pay dividends for years to come. So you said something earlier that I want to drill down on that I think is really important for anyone who listens to this podcast, is that this is where we get to press reset. Okay. This is where we get to focus and be intentional with where we spend our resource, our time, and our thought. I would encourage everyone to spend their time with those who are focusing on the opportunities, right? There's lots of challenges. Like, by focusing on our opportunities, Justin, it doesn't make our challenges go away. It just permits us to deal with them more efficiently, effectively, proactively, and permanently.
So as we're focusing on opportunities, as we're doing a self-assessment of where we want to be, I can kind of talk through the matrix that I followed. I call it the strategic planning process. I've taught this on the blog, the podcast, even the next book is coming out. In fact, I think they're going to title the book. Well, I can't say that yet, but anyways, it's an interesting title. But there's so much that's centered around this concept of planning that so many business owners haven't had a chance. If we identify who we are and where we want to be, then we've won the battle. Now it's a matter of figuring out how to get us there. And the only way I know how to do it is walk through the strategic planning process, which consists of kind of, if I may, just for a second, Brandon, kind of teach for a second. You know me, I like to teach, but kind of teach you some of these things that we've talked about in about a 5-minute version of the strategic planning process. Once you know where you want to be, then it's through that internalization, you're looking at your values. Who is it that you are? What is it that makes you tick? You know, one of my values my dad taught me early on is he said, son, you never let another man outwork you. You're a Goodbread. I heard that 1,000 times growing up. And that is a value that I have within me. My youth leader used to say from the military, hey, the leader eats last. I remember that's a value he would say. My mom would say, son, if you see something, fix it. If you see a turtle upside down, you would turn it over and let it go on its way. So if you see something that's in need, you would fix it. So we all have these values, but once we have our values, then we're looking to our vision and our mission. Where are we headed in our business? You know, years ago, Brandon, I dreamed of what we're doing here now. I dreamed of a team of experts, rock solid experts who could come in behind the clients whom we have the honor and privilege to serve and guide them. But I saw myself in a position to where I was meeting with, not even knowing your name, a Brandon Jordan on the air, talking through concepts with people. That was a value and a vision that I had and a mission that I had to set out. But the only way I could accomplish that vision, that mission, was to set some objectives in place. You know, and right now with business owners getting back in the swing of things, they're looking at these ideas of, well, I have to now deal with these 7A or the PPP loans. I have to deal with the idle loans, the EIDL loans. I have to deal with these loans. I have to make sure I strategically hire people. That's an objective. That could be your objective number one for your next 6 weeks. Your objective number two may be to replace or replenish some of your team members. Now you have the opportunity to perhaps move out some subpar performers and bring in some rock stars. A lot of people are at home and they may be thinking, what, do I need to change careers at this point? It may be an opportunity right now as an objective to say, what, my marketing stunk really bad in January. We weren't getting a lot of leads coming in. Now maybe an objective to let's work on our marketing. So once we know our objectives, we know our values, we know our vision, our mission statement, our values and our objectives, then we're coming in and we're trying to figure out the strategies we're going to utilize to hit each of those objectives. Once we know our strategies, that's kind of like how we're going to do it. Then we run into the tactics. So if I were going to try to hire or replace a team at that, and I had somebody that was giving some coaching today on this particular topic, I said, one of the things you want to do is hone in on that job description. What is it that the previous person was not doing very well in that particular job description? And what would you want that rock star team member to be doing in that job description? So that's the tactic. And finally, you boil down to the action. And ultimately, if you follow a strategic planning process, you can walk yourself down to 27 specific action steps that whenever we are ready, and I'm telling you, friends, it's probably sooner than later. I realize we might not be able to see clients or patients or customers for another 6 weeks in some parts of the country, but the process that I'm talking through right now literally keeps people up at night whenever they're thinking through this. And you may want to start this process now so that maybe a week before that start date, that launch date, or that restart, that turnaround date, now you're ready to get that team in place and you're ready to communicate those 27 action items with details in place. You say, well, Justin, man, I've got more work than I can handle. I don't have time for that. Actually, contraire. If you don't do it, you're not gonna be able to handle the work. You say, well, Justin, I don't have enough work. Au contraire. If you don't do it, then you're not going to have the work, because so many other businesses are now not only shut down simultaneously, they're coming back simultaneously into the marketplace. And there's going to be a flood of confusion. There's going to be a flood of people volleying for the customers once again. And friends, only those who plan properly will outrun the competition. Is that fair, Brandon?
Not only is that fair, I would stake the rest of my career on that very premise. Right? Those who fail to take the actions they need to take right now are not going to even get back to par, because the ones who are putting in the mechanisms right now and surrounding themselves with strategic thinkers right now are going to be capturing such a substantially greater market share than they ever had before, because consumers know. I'm a big believer that purpose drives performance. Now is the time where we get to focus on our purpose. We all got bills to pay, but focus on your purpose, and then think about the key team members who can help you execute on that purpose, because the money is not the goal, Justin. Money is a byproduct of doing something that is others deemed to be valuable.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Go
ahead.
One of the strategies, one of the things that you were telling me a couple of weeks ago whenever we started this, is you said, Justin, think about it in the form of a race. And I don't know if you remember you talking about this. You were saying those who prepare themselves are going to be the champions. Right now, we have the opportunity for all of us are approaching those starting blocks, so to speak. We're getting ready to get down in that runner stance here very soon as business owners. We have another 3 weeks in some parts of the country, 6 weeks in other parts of the country to actually do some major preparation in our business and get into those blocks. So when that pistol fires off, that starting gun fires off, we can get ahead of the competition. We can get ahead of the noise, which is once again going to turn back on, and we're going to, heaven forbid this happens to me, but we're going to miss the birds singing. We're going to miss the leaves changing. We're going to miss the things because we got so busy once again. So as we wrap this particular point up, Brandon, I want to ask you the question I've been asking everybody, dealing with this topic of turnaround, dealing with this topic of launching again. What is that one piece of advice that you would give listeners of the podcast? And we're talking many, many, many thousand business owners who are listening to this. What would you tell them at this point as it relates to getting ready to start up again?
So I like to speak in analogies because I just think it helps paint the picture. But when we talk about a race, I would challenge everyone who's listening to this to think of this not like, Justin, owning a business is not a sprint. It's a marathon. Okay. This is like the Indy 500 where we were forced to take a pit stop. So how we finish this race, where we finish, where we place, will be predicated and dictated by where we spend our time and our resources while we're on the pit stop.
With that, guys, I'm going to direct you to the Financially Simple blog. You may say, Justin, man, can we hire you guys? Yeah, we've actually had a lot of people ask us that, and we actually are bringing on a few choice clients at this point. In fact, I just had an individual say, man, Justin, we've been listening to y'all's information, the entire team. We actually shared out our entire advisory team, which includes, let me tell you the lineup that's in our team. This is amazing. Let's start with Chris Stewart, because he was on the video. Chris Stewart is a CFA, a chartered financial analyst. He's also a CFP. He is in his late 50s, early 60s. I think he's late 50s at this point. If he sees it says late 60s, he's going to smack me down. The guy's a pilot, but more importantly, he's been through almost every major market condition. He is the gentleman who's dealing with our investments for our clients. We have Jeff Jetter. Jeff's the CFP. What they call it, applicant at this point, I think they call it, CFP applicant, a certified estate planner with years of experience, a pilot that flew Apaches in the Gulf War. I mean, think about this. Anybody that has that sense of wherewithal, man, when you love to have them coaching you. We have David Kent on our team. David Kent served as an MBA, served years in corporate America. Man, I've never seen anybody as cool as a cucumber as him, dealing with some of the emotions that some of the business owners are having right now. Obviously, we have Brandon and Jordan, the slackers of the team, involved. And then we have outside the advisory team, a group of experts here that from various people here that are keeping us moving forward. So I've had a lot of people reach out through financiallysimple.com work with the team, or work with Justin, I think it says, or work with us, saying, hey, can we hire you at this point? We have a little bit of capacity. We've been having a lot of clients call us, and candidly, you'll love this, we haven't lost any clients. In fact, we have been working our tails off to keep our clients moving in this positive manner. And they are like, we're getting thank you cards. We're getting emails. We're getting video messages saying, guys, thank you so much. I'm glad I have you on our success team. You maybe say, Justin, I'm not ready to hire you guys. Well, let me send you over to something that we did years ago that I think now is a perfect time. Go to financiallysimple.com/plan, financiallysimple.com/plan. We'll put that in the show notes of the Facebook Live video, the YouTube videos, etc., even inside the podcast notes on Stitcher, Spotify, or iTunes. And you can walk through the strategic planning course that we created that has you a step-by-step on how to do a strategic plan. And if you go to financialsimple.com/plan, that's 50% off. I don't even know what the price is, friends. I have no clue. I don't deal with that. They have smart people that knows how to do all that, but go there and you could download strategic planning course. Now is the time. A friend of mine just texted me. Actually, he's on watching us on Facebook or YouTube. And he says, plan to fail, fail to plan, plan to fail. Fail to plan to fail. Friends, if there was ever a time whenever you have time to plan right now, now is it. And now's the time we need to pause, take a Selah moment, a moment where you just meditate on what you're dealing with and plan your next year, your next decade of success. If you don't do it now, you're bound to go back into the same path, the same track, the same frustrations you had beforehand. But we have a golden opportunity right now, friends, to make some changes. So with that, signing off for Brandon, myself, the whole team here at the Financial Simple Studios. Look, life is hard. It is. But man, life is good. I told somebody today, I'm greatly blessed and highly favored. Love it. Life can be frustrating. It can be. But money doesn't have to be. We're going to continue. Brandon and I and the team are going to continue to try to make your lives at least financially simple. Y'all go out and make it.